We've been developing this idea of a creative learning academy over the last 18 months or so, and been particularly interested in looking at how we take musicians, artists, writers, improv artists and comedians and draw them into the creative process to look at how we can learn from creative people and then transfer some of that to the research world and look at how we can make the research world a much more free and open place. I did an improv workshop quite a few years ago, found it really scary, but very challenging, but also really interesting. And on that day, spent the day thinking, God, this is really interesting. There's things I can take from this and apply in other areas and in other ways. If we bring comedy to it, it's such an unusual thing to bring to the dry world of research. There's got to be something interesting that will come out of that. But it really was a bit like flying a kite and just seeing what happens. I wasn't not come into this with any preconceived ideas.
I've been working on a project to explore how Chinese people with severe mental illness, how they came into contact with mental health services, what difficulties they came across before they receive services they need. One of the findings I got is stigma attached to mental illness to a large extent still play a major part in preventing people from the Chinese community to go outside of the family to get help. And so I think when I first saw the idea about maybe trying to use the use of comedy to convey a message, I thought, well, maybe it's a good idea to try to explore whether that will work. The first reaction was most of them, they are very worried about, I had to go on the camera. My feeling was maybe is it because the strong stigma attached to mental illness, people don't want to talk about it in front of the camera? Is it the fear of association with mental illness?
It's something that was a challenge. I had no idea that that the users and the people within the community, with the Chinese community, were going to be so receptive to our comedy ways and our sense of humour in itself. I found that particularly with the service users within the Chinese community, they really opened up. We had obviously language barriers, translation, having to communicate in a way that we weren't used to, but it really worked. We managed to get over the language barrier by actually using physical comedy, slapstick. A comedy in itself is a very generic and universal tool. However, with that language barrier, it was just diminished the moment that we put some music on and started to use our bodies and just get physically silly.
Like having the hair done.
I think today has been an example of how when we talk about research and communicating a message, we're doing so much more than just telling people what was the output of Echo's research. When we read her application, we were keen to work with her to communicate the message about the stigma associated with mental health in Chinese communities. But I couldn't envisage how that would actually work. And I think if you said to somebody, well, we're the Northwest R&D team, we're going to work with a group of people from the Chinese community, some of whom will have mental health problems, in a comedy workshop and produce a film. For some people that would have probably seemed an insurmountable challenge. And I think today has shown that you can do it. We've got a film that's going to communicate a very key message, but also there's been a day where people have had the opportunity to come together, to share, to work together, and I hope that it's been something that's also built their self-esteem, as well as just being something that's going to communicate a message.
I think one of the key message the group really want to the community more receptive about people affected by mental illness. There's nothing wrong with the person themselves, and what they really need is from the support and help. Yes. 我哋需要嘅係你嘅幫助同支持，唔好驚我哋啊！
你而家住喺咩年代啊？
你們所抗癌，試下飲食癌。
魔就睇我嘅表。
我有病我都唔想嫁。
我需要你嘅支持。
你哋唔好笑我。
嘗試認識我，唔使怕，
唔使驚我同你一樣啫，好似有患傷風感冒一樣。
I think it went really well. I think people come up with really good idea. I didn't know what will be the final outcome, but yes, I'm really happy that there's people taking really active part in it and makes really good contribution.
Is it able to translate that?
I think it's great today. This is a good opportunity for all the the service user to come together and come up with some idea. And because my job, I'm the health coordinator. Have a lot of clients have this issue, so I think if come up some idea from the service user, maybe hopefully the outcome of this message will deliver it to everybody.
Laughter is a wonderful medicine after all, and I think we've managed to get together and produce a really simple but powerful message because it came from the heart and from these people's experiences.